Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Why don't you all give yourselves a round of applause for coming out today. Thank you. My name is Brian Joyce, and I would like to welcome you to today's event on democracy and human rights in Egypt and across the Middle East. We have many people who have come here from really all across the world, and you'll be hearing from many impressive speakers and guests. We've brought in academics, we've brought in witnesses who have witnessed many atrocities, not just in the Middle East, but across the globe. And we really want to expand today's conversation into just that, which is a conversation about democracy and human rights, not just in Egypt and not just in the Middle East, but really across the entire world. So, my name is Brian Joyce. I'd like to briefly introduce myself. I'm a talk radio host out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I was initially approached by Mohammed and his group, Egyptians Abroad for Democracy. I know that over the course of the past year, Mohammed has been doing tireless work, and there are many people in this room who have been doing tireless work to bring attention to the causes that we're going to be speaking about here today. It's a cause that I support. I'm very proud and honored that Mohammed and his group did approach me to moderate these events, and it's my privilege, it's my honor to be here, and I thank you for turning out. This is a great crowd that we have here today, and we do appreciate the Carter Center for hosting us here today, and I think it is particularly important to point that out because, of course, President Jimmy Carter himself in his own way did a lot of tireless work to bring peace to the Middle East, and I don't think we should forget that. So if we could give a round of applause to our hosts here at the Carter Center. It's a beautiful venue, and we're certainly happy to be here. We have 3 panels that are planned for you this afternoon, and in the first panel we will be discussing the massacre in Rabat. Chiefly, that's why we're here today. We're here today to commemorate and speak on the 1-year anniversary of the massacres and the military coup in Egypt. But again, we would like to expand that conversation into a conversation about democracy and human rights across the Middle East and really across the globe. We'll be doing the first panel. The first panel will deal specifically with Rabat and the aftermath of Rabat. Then we'll get into the second panel where we'll, again, expand the conversation beyond Egypt. And then we'll have a third panel where we talk about foreign policy and U.S. policy, and we get into issues of democracy and human rights from across the world. I would like to open today's panel with just an opening statement that we like to deliver anytime we host one of these events. And this is my 3rd time taking part in one of these events. We hosted one in Chattanooga a couple of months ago. We hosted another one in Geneva, Switzerland, just 2 months ago. And then myself and several other people that you'll meet today on today's panels, we were all in Istanbul, Turkey last month, where we did another rally in the town square in Istanbul. So I would like to open with this statement, which we do like to deliver whenever we do one of these events. We'd like to introduce ourselves. We'd like to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we represent. We are groups of global citizens of different nationalities and geographic regions. We share a common ideal, the ideal of people empowerment. We believe that in the 21st century, the purest and the most sincere form of public representation is through democracy. We condemn all forms of dictatorship. We condemn all forms of rule by force. We especially condemn military coups that override the desires of the people themselves. Our presence here and the message we would like to share and spread across the world is that people are the ones who should decide their own fate, their nation's goals, their targets, their direction. We do not believe elite beneficiaries, military commanders, and certainly not corrupt states should be dictating that for the rest of us. We believe that the world has more to share with each other than we do to differ with each other. We do live in an exceedingly global environment. Speed of communication and travel has lifted the separation of nations, drawn us closer to each other, certainly than ever before. Therefore, we believe that as people, human beings of this great earth, we should look to support each other. in the growth, education, and the spread of peace, democracy, and human rights worldwide. We believe that the benefit of one citizen is to the benefit of us all, and that's what we should achieve. After World War II, the United Nations was formed with the primary goal of enhancing communication between nations, setting a foundation of principles and ideals, one of which, and most importantly, was the ideal of self-determination. This, to us, is the cornerstone of peace, it is the cornerstone of democracy, and it leads to alleviating the alienation of people. And I think when you look across the world today, you see a lot of alienation, and you see a lot of people who feel powerless and poor and incapable of determining their own self-worth. On the international scene, there is a clear, increasing awareness that ideals are not words, rather a way of life, and adopting such ideals is in the interest of all of humanity. Governments are there to serve their people and ensure their prosperity and their growth. Again, we believe that we share more together as human beings than we differ. And that's why here today you see Americans, you see people from Europe, you see people from the Middle East, people of all colors, all races, all nationalities. This is what we believe in. And before we even begin today's panels, we do want to make it very clear that we're not here to speak on behalf of any particular political party. We're not here to speak on behalf or against any particular government. We're here to express the wishes of people, because really, no matter where you go, whether it's the United States, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, we all just want the same thing. Everybody who is sitting in this room today wants the same thing. You want peace, you want prosperity, you want security, you want respect. And we believe that the best way to achieve that is through democracy and a universal recognition of human rights. So that's why we're here today. Before we continue any further, I do want to also explain the four fingers, because I'm sure as you look around the room, you see the yellow signs with the four fingers. And when I first joined up with the Egyptians Abroad for Democracy, I did not know what that meant. And I know that probably there are some people in this room also who are not familiar with what that means. So I do want to take a minute here to explain the four fingers. The name of the fourth daughter of her family, therefore, Rabba, meaning the fourth. This girl, grew up to become a symbol for love, peace, passion, forgiveness. A mosque and a square were named after this girl in Egypt, in which Egyptian protesters recently sat in for more than 45 days to express a peaceful objection against a bloody military coup. A demonstration against that coup, through which the first democratically elected president in Egyptian history was kidnapped. The first democratically elected representative house was dissolved, the Constitution was disabled, the media was shut down, and employees of media outlets were held captive. This was a coup which did not shy away from the indiscriminate slaughtering of thousands of unarmed protesters, several massacres without any consideration for age or gender. The coup government tried hard to push all of these protesters away from their peaceful protesting. They failed. Their crackdown did not stop the increasing numbers of peaceful protesters elsewhere in Egypt and all over the world from showing their support to freedom throughout the world and through democratic means. Rabah has become a symbol of solidarity, freedom, challenge, human rights, democracy, legitimacy, love, passion, compassion, and persistence. Rabah is a symbol of sacrificing oneself to allow others to live free with a basic right for self-determination. And again, that is why we are here today. We are not here to speak on behalf or against political parties, speak on behalf or against any one government. We are here to speak on behalf of ourselves and what we have witnessed and what we think is the best way forward in Egypt, in the Middle East, and across the world. So again, my name is Brian Joyce. I will be moderating all of today's panels, and I appreciate the invitation to be here. It's a beautiful venue. We have many wonderful guests that we've lined up, again, from around the world, and I think it will be a fantastic afternoon. The first panel will be moderated by a good friend of mine, Mansour Ansari. Now, before we get into the first panel, I think we do have a video that we would like to show you here about Rabat, and is that video ready to go?